How's it going, everybody? Dieter Kurtenbach here. Let's do the Warriors weekly wrap. Interesting week for the Golden State Warriors. Starts off with a loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder, but then the Warriors get right back on track, and a lot of that has to do with the outstanding play of Kevin Durant. Listen, I'm not here to say that the Warriors without Stephen Curry is all that good of an outfit, but when you have Kevin Durant, you're going to win some games, and the Warriors have won 3 straight games behind Kevin Durant, who went off for 32 against Portland, 44 against the Sacramento Kings, and 49 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists against the Orlando Magic on Monday. One hell of a weekend, extended weekend for one Kevin Durant, and the Warriors got back into first place in the Western Conference in a virtual tie with the Los Angeles Clippers at this juncture, but all the losses that they took on, that 4-game losing streak and the falling in the standings, that's no more. Just took a couple of clutch performances from Kevin Durant. Klay Thompson stepping up his game in a big way. The bench getting in on it a little bit, particularly in that game against Portland last Friday. Positive signs for the Warriors. They still look like a middle-of-the-pack team in the Western Conference when they don't have Steph Curry, when they don't have Draymond Green, when they don't have the obvious key to it all, Alfonso McKinney. But nevertheless, pretty good team without those big guys and Alfonso McKinney. But without Stephen Curry, without Draymond Green, they're still a damn good team. And that just shows the gap between Golden State and everybody else. Steph Curry is expected to come back here. He will either be back for Thursday's game against the Raptors, Saturday's game against the Detroit Pistons. The Warriors are on a 5-game road trip. I know that Curry wants to come back for that game against Toronto. That's one of those homecoming games that he really gets up for. His dad spent some time when he was in the NBA playing for the Toronto Raptors, so he always gets up for Charlotte, Steph, because Del Curry, a legend for the Charlotte Hornets, he always gets up for Toronto too. He spent so much of his childhood there. I know Steph wants to play in that game. Warriors were always going to be cautious, but all signs point to him seeing some action, maybe off the bench in that contest. If he doesn't come into that game, it's going to be Saturday against the Detroit Pistons, or maybe even Monday in Atlanta if they really, really want to push it. But Steph Curry comes back. There's never really that much of a feeling out period when Steph Curry comes back. Even in the playoffs last year, you'll recall he came back in, hit the ground running against the New Orleans Pelicans, and really didn't slow down. There was a couple of not so great games, but never really slowed down in any significant way for the rest of the postseason. It'll be interesting to see how Kevin Durant's game adapts. So much of what the Warriors have done without Curry has been going through Durant. A lot of post-ups, a lot of triangle-based offense, kind of throwing it back to the Tex winner teams of the late 90s Bulls. Phil Jackson, Steve Kerr was on those teams with Michael Jordan where they would just give it to Michael in the post. He'd put his back onto somebody and they would run the offense through him. Rules have changed a lot, but you can see a lot of what the Warriors are doing now. You can see a lot of that kind of throwing back to that Tex winner triangle offense that the Bulls ran back in the late 90s and what the Lakers ran with Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. Obviously, Kevin Durant, a player sort of on the level of those guys. We don't talk about it all that much, but Kevin Durant's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. But so is Steph Curry, and he's the guy who really makes everything happen for Golden State. You don't have to look too far back to see how the Warriors struggled without him. He is the talisman of this team. He is the one who makes everything work. And the Warriors, while they did get on a 3-game winning streak, and that game against Portland was a blowout win, they really struggled to beat Sacramento, and they really struggled to beat Orlando. Normally, that situation would raise some eyebrows, but I think both Sacramento and Orlando are solid NBA teams. That said, the Warriors at home should be beating those teams by maybe not 20 points, but easily, a lot easier than they did in the actual playing of those games over the weekend. So Warriors certainly are going to be welcoming back Steph Curry. Remains to be seen when Draymond Green comes back, and the Warriors defense can really use a guy like him around now. But I'm, again, fascinated to see how Kevin Durant adapts. We know Klay Thompson's just going to go with the flow. That's what Klay does. It's what makes him so brilliant. He is no stress, all ease. But Kevin Durant's getting kind of used to being the superstar of this team. And we were joking when the Warriors were losing so much, hey, this is what it would be like if Kevin Durant left. Well, Warriors are winning a few games here. Kevin Durant's been the star of those games, no question about it. This is also what it might be like if he were to leave. So Stephen Curry's coming back. The Warriors are going to get that flow. The Warriors are going to get that joy back. How does Kevin Durant respond? Does he enjoy having the pressure come off of him? Does he maybe want the ball a little bit more than perhaps he should? Fight that flow a little bit? We've certainly seen that in the past. It's not as if everything that Kevin Durant does over the next, 9 months is going to be super psychoanalyzed. So we might as well get a good head start on it now, get really good at it by the time the playoffs roll around. Should be an interesting week for the Warriors coming up. We talked about that 5-game road trip starts Thursday in Toronto. That is one of the best matchups of the year. Raptors playing fantastic basketball. The Warriors, well, they're the Warriors. And if Steph Curry's back, then they're definitely the Warriors. Detroit, a team that's doing a lot of surprising things. I like what Blake Griffin's doing. He's kind of taken on a new lease with the Pistons. I still think it's a flawed team, but they can definitely give the Warriors a run. And I know Draymond Green wants to be back for that game. That's a homecoming game for him. The Hawks, we get another Trae Young, Stephen Curry matchup. Maybe not as much of a Trae Young, Stephen Curry matchup as maybe one would expect. Don't expect Steph to play too much in that game. He might get that night off. But nevertheless, fun to see what Travis Schlenk, the former assistant GM for the Warriors, is doing with the Hawks. Always fun to see kind of a team coming into existence. It's going to be a while before the Hawks are good, but nice confidence-boosting opportunity for the Atlanta Hawks. Then they get the Cleveland Cavaliers, which is not an important game because, well, LeBron doesn't play for the Cavs anymore. And then Friday, December 7th. So we'll talk well before this, but we got to get out ahead of it because it's so exciting on this 5-game road trip. Milwaukee Bucks, December 7th in Milwaukee, new arena. That's a big one. That's as good as it gets. Starts with a great one, ends with a great one, and I think there's going to be an interesting game on the in-between against Detroit. So, in the meantime, you need to be checking out Mark Medina's stuff. He is our Warriors beat writer. He is our superb Warriors beat writer. You got to be checking out Logan Murdoch's stuff. He is breaking stuff left and right. He is our other superb Warriors beat writer. And you got to stay with the Mercury News and the East Bay Times. We'll have everything from this 5-game road trip, the comments, criticisms, analyses, and news. That's what we do here. Talk to you soon.